Thank you, everybody, for your patience. And finally, head coach Vivian Stringer, who achieved her 1,000th career win tonight. We'll go ahead and open it up to questions.
Coach, when the final seconds roll up the clock and you get the win, what's going through your head when you see the confetti go down? What's going through your head?
To be honest with you, I had to be touched to even remember that the game was almost over, because I was focusing on that. And then when it happened, it reminded me of the time when we had insurmountable odds and we had beaten Tennessee at Iowa. My husband had died that year, and it was really strange, everything happened. And then I realized that that it was really happening. I was so nervous about this game and all three of the games, and as I shared with everyone, it was just because, family members and so many people came from such great distances, and always things don't work out as we would like, and I didn't want to disappoint anybody. So I was glad that it was over, and then I was confused about where I need to go and what I need to do.
Can you describe your feeling as you watched the video tributes from all the different people on the big screen?
Wow. You know what? I was just awestruck. Like, what the heck? I couldn't believe it. I really, really appreciate that anyone would take the time, and in particular, those people who are extremely busy, but that they would take the time to give a comment. I was first stunned with the fact that our governor was there, and I know he's a good man and he's really involved in women's athletics, but that when Pat Hobbs, was standing, and then all of a sudden, I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. But when I saw that smile, I knew his genuine care about what we were doing there, and so that was probably the first thing. And then Charles and the Admiral, with Coach Cheney and Raveling and Jerry Sloan, all of those people are people that I felt like I knew. And so if it's possible that when we all leave this earth, and if it's true that you can see all the people that really care and pass you by, then that's what that was, but in a great way,
Vivian, what does it mean? Tasha came back, she's coaching right now at the game Thursday. Dawn came up, she's got a game Thursday. Gillette obviously has the connection to you, and she came back. Seeing these coaches come back, who obviously in their seasons also, what does that say about you and what you mean in this game?
Well, I guess they really care, and I know that Coach Law fooled me this morning because she called and say that she couldn't come to the celebration because she had the scout, and of course I would be understanding that she had a scout, so she couldn't come, but that she came. In fact, her entire staff came, as well as Dawn, and certainly with Coach Law. She just won her first game the other day, and we're all, in this business and really tough. One of the young ladies that came, Courtney, from Hawaii, said, "Hey, I flew in, but I'm going to fly back." And I think that it means that maybe I'm doing some things right, that people genuinely do care. And it's much like something that my father said a long time ago, and that is, don't give me flowers when I'm gone. Let me know what you feel now. And I appreciate it. I can't say anything other than that. And more often than not, when I'm stunned, I can't find words to describe what that meant to see, coaches, former coaches. There were a lot of people that I am looking forward to seeing and talking with in another hour.
Coach Stringer, you talked about yesterday how when you were at Cheney State, how the athletic director believed in you and the president believed in you, and as you progressed throughout your career, you had a lot of people that were in higher positions that believed in you. I guess what would you say to that coach, to that black coach, or that coach that feels like they're being overlooked and that they're not being considered for those opportunities that you've gotten continuously throughout your career?
Well, let me say this. First of all, when I first got my master's, when I graduated from school, I didn't have a job. So I thought, I better do something to stay in school, like a lot of students. So I decided to get my master's. And then my husband and I wanted to take jobs, get jobs at Slippery Rock, which is where, you know, I got my degrees, and my husband did as well. But they talked about inbreeding, and I understand that, you know. And at the time, I was devastated, and it's like, I can't believe that happened. So sometimes we don't quite get what we like, what we think we like. But this school, this small school called Cheney State, gave me a chance, you know. And after they gave me a chance against, you know, the powerhouses, the Tennessees and Pitt and Penn State, and we're beating up on them with our $3,000 budget, you know, then it just said that if people give you a chance, it's not about what you have, but it's what you do with what you have. So many of those players from Cheney, they went to a Final Four back to back. They were sophomores and juniors, real serious stuff, you know. But we only had 2 other basketballs. You know what I mean? It didn't matter, again, what money you have or anything. You've got to believe in yourself. So what we would do, if I had them together, we would sit down and we would talk. What do you want to do? And one said, I wanted to be a lawyer. And another one said, I want to teach computer science. You know, and we all talked about, you know, networking and making something of ourselves. And so what I would tell anybody is, don't worry about what you don't have. You know, look at the glass as half full and figure out what you're going to do. Because as long as you have a brain in your head, as long as you have the commitment from players that are willing to, you know, to believe in you. Because I'm asked that question all the time, why were you so successful? I think that we're tough, hard-nosed, but I love my players. I love them with all my heart. I won't cut anything. I give it to them straight. But I think that they appreciate that. And they know at the end, you know, because some of the notes that I got leading up to this game, you know, I think about some players that it might look as though they weren't listening as much. But it's kind of interesting because they would send me a text that said, you know, I'm in this country, I'm in that country. I remember all the things you told me. And she didn't need to say anything else, and I thought, yeah, this is so special. You know, let me say this. Angie Lee, the staff that was at Iowa. Well, you know, she was a former player of mine first. When I went to Iowa, they had not won they had about 150 people, period, that were ever in the stands, and they hadn't won but 5 games. But we worked extremely hard. They believed in me and that staff, right? At the end, we were invited to the WNIT. And I remember Angie running up to me and said, oh my God, we got invited to the WNIT. We were nothing before, and we're so happy. And I was saying to her, then, we will never take seconds. And yet, I thought within myself, like, how could I deny her that? After all, I had been to a Final Four, you know what I mean? And she said, I understand. It hurt her. And so, that whole group from Iowa, but you see, it didn't matter, because they then became assistant coaches. And all I can tell you is that, you know what, those young ladies that were sitting there, Angie and then the Myers that were sitting there with me, we went then to play for the national championship. So I'm just saying that it comes in different ways, and you just got to keep believing, and you got to find other people. You got to have administrators that believe in you. You know, you have to have fans that really support you. All of those doubters, you just have to pass them by, because most people find it much easier to be negative and tell you what you can't do. But if you're fortunate, that's why I brought my sisters and brothers up. That's exactly why I brought my sisters and brothers up, because they're never going to forsake me. They're going to always be there, you know, giving me the strength. And I'm not foolish enough to tell anybody that I'm strong and I can do this. And I've dealt with a lot of tragedies and a lot of things. But I've dealt with so much that there's nothing and nobody that can tell me what I cannot do. And that's the most important thing to me. Most important, no matter what it is that you're doing. If you want to be a journalist and you want to work for the Washington Post, and you happen to be working for the little Trailblazers, whatever, you know, just work and never cut corners. Pay the price. Pay the price. But first, ask the price. What is it that you expect of me? And once you get the answer, then you make a decision about whether or not you're going to pay the price. But once you know the price, pay it, and things will happen. I used to get on Mel all the time. Mel was busy putting it. Yeah, Mel. You know, I'm gonna say it now. Mel was always busy with that top 20. You know what? I can't even tell you. Sometimes I would drive from Cheney and I would cry. I just want to tell you that now. And I tell you that because I would feel like, dang, we deserve to be a top 20 team. But Mel was the voice of everything.
And I put you on the board. You stole it. I was on
Yeah, but check this out. He did put me on a board, right? But you couldn't vote for yourself. That's not quite it. But I can tell you this, Mel. No, I appreciate because you were there involved a long time ago before anyone else really cared about women's basketball. But I just want you to know that I did pay close attention to what you were doing. And every time I didn't see, you know, our school, you know, in that top 20, you know what I would say? I'm gonna get somebody. I'm gonna win, and then we're gonna see what Mel does next. And that's okay. That's okay. You know what I mean? That's what competition is all about. Yeah, it did. It did. You know, I mean, Mel and I are great friends. You asked me to introduce you for the Hall of Fame, right? I did everything I could. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I just know. I'm just trying to say that I really know that you just got to believe in yourself. We all have got to believe in ourselves, no matter who we are and what we do, male or female. And that's hard to do by ourselves because it gets down. But if you got somebody, some angels, you know, whether it's your family members or a good friend or somebody that continues to believe in you, then you can make it. You can make it.
Vivian, I'm looking at a lot of different tributes on Twitter, and Hillary Clinton just sent you a tribute and congratulate you. What does that mean, you know, Hillary Clinton, and just the tributes in general, everything that you got tonight?
Well, I think everybody knows that I love her anyway, so I'm not making any big thing of that. She's special, that she would take the time, you know, because in her life and the significance of everything that's happening in this world, sports is a small thing, you know, and so I don't think of it as anything big, but I consider myself like, wow, I appreciate the fact that she would even take the time. She has a lot more really important things to worry about, and that's true of all these guys, whether it's, you know, Charles Barkley or Shaq or anybody else. You know, I'm just that little person that's just trying to win basketball games, but perhaps you know, have been fueled and fortunate to have someone who's really continued to support over the years, just continue to support over the years. And so I'm happy that I've made a difference, and some people have recognized that. And even if no one said anything, I recognize the young ladies that I have, and I'm doing some good things for them. And they are doing great things for me.
I know you were concerned coming to the game, your team might be nervous with the pressure of trying to win 1,000 for you. Get off that good start. I mean, you were up 20 and a half. I mean, not that the game was over, but
yeah, that
helps calm some nerves. Just how big was it to get off to a good start with this group? What kind of happened pressure-wise?
Well, you know what? Here's what the problem is. First of all, I was sure that they probably read clippings, and as a coach, you're always trying to avoid. You want them always to play beyond the competition that's there. You know, have a certain level of expectation, and technically, what I didn't want is I wanted much fewer turnovers. I wanted to be able to execute the offensive transition, and I wanted to make sure that we understood what it was that we needed to do. And yet I wasn't able to avoid the nervousness that they demonstrated and that I demonstrated as well. I was just nervous, and they were too, you know, because I know that we can play better. And I know we had that 20-point lead, but it wasn't a matter of winning a game. I've always been like that. It's never a matter of winning a game. It is a matter of playing the game in the right way. You know what I mean? The execution. And, you know, I'm not going to blame them for it. They're just nervous. But we got to do far better. Because, as you know, maybe in 2 days or something, like we're going to play South Carolina. We're going to play Mississippi State. So if we're going to play teams of that magnitude, we have to be sharper, and we need to learn how to play as though you're going to war. Because if they have a different color uniform, you just go there with the mindset that you don't let them get anything. You know, that it's that mindset that we need to work with, and I think we will, because whether you all realize it or not, probably 2 or 3 potential starters were sitting on a bench. So we've had a tremendous amount of injuries, and I think that when they are able to come back, we're going to have a real hard, really good push, to be our very best. But it's going to be a little while. We've just been devastated, and so I didn't want people to come and then, dang, if we didn't win all 3 of those games, and yet you can't count on anything. Who knows how you could trip along the way, But I'm glad, honestly, I can't tell you, I am so glad to get that off my neck, So maybe we can go and start coaching now, and they can start focusing on what they have to do.
We have time for one more question.
Is 1,500?
I'm sorry?
2,000?
Sometimes I feel like that, you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like that. If I'm fortunate enough to work with the young ladies that I'm working with, they're special. They fuel the fire that's in me, and they make it possible. And to have the assistants that I have, yeah, that's possible. But you know what? That's a long. You know how many years that is? And I never even thought about that. Really, I remember when we won 200 at Iowa. I even remember there was they had a number 300 and it was a little diamond on it, and I thought, boy, that's really nice. Isn't that like that? Thinking, Dad, look how many years you've been coaching. You had 11 years behind you at Cheney, and that. So it was unfathomable, and I really can't even tell you. I'm not even going to make a prediction. If I have this group, who knows? But honestly, I would stretch myself a lot to expect that. Look how long that would be. Wow. A long time. A long time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.